The humidity! I'm Aaron Jones, and welcome to another episode of Inspire Magic, where I like to inspire you to go out and do great magic, and you go out and inspire others to do great magic. And today, I wanted to talk about performing in high humidity. So I'm in Japan, and the summers in Japan are very, very humid, especially if you go outside. If you go outside in the summer months, you're going to be sweating, you're going to be wet constantly. Now, if you're performing inside, it's not so much of a problem because most indoor places have air conditioning systems, so you don't have to worry about that. But sometimes I end up performing at stage shows and close-up at some festivals or outdoor events, and it is constantly a struggle to come up or to choose effects that work well in high humidity, because you're going to be wet. Your hands are going to be wet, you're going to be dripping sweat. Now, I know this is gross, but you have to really think about this when you're performing in this environment. Lots of parts of Asia are very humid, and when I remember visiting the East Coast of the United States in the summer, it was also very humid. So different parts of the world have a high humidity, and if you've never experienced it, it's going to be a surprise. It's nice because it's hot all the time. You don't have to worry about being cold in the summer months or anything, but it really makes it a challenge performing. For example, when I'm going to perform outside during the summer months, I avoid things that won't work well with humidity. For example, sponge balls. I will never perform with sponge balls during the summer months if I'm performing outdoors, because your hands are wet, spectators' hands are wet, and it's just bad, and it's going to get the sponge balls will get gross really quickly. And if you're doing card magic too, you have to be careful because the cards will start to warp, because from my experience performing here for the last 11 years or more, like, you are wet, and you have to really think about managing when you're doing close-up to have time between your performance sets to go and wash your hands and really dry off as much as possible. And it's also important to keep some kind of towel or handkerchief. Now, luckily in Japan, because it's so humid, and carrying a pocket handkerchief is normal, and so make sure you do that and have a small towel somewhere, because you will use it. And so, for example, when I perform a close-up set or even stage magic, I keep a towel close at hand because you're going to use it, and don't be embarrassed to use it because you're going to have water, sweat dripping into your eyes and your hands. And so you got to think about the effects. So think about card effects. If you're going to do complicated coin magic in a high humidity environment, you really have to be very brave, because coins will slip. I've had this experience when I first came here, and so now when I perform outside, I have a specific set of effects, and I stay away from really hard sleight of hand that can be disrupted by high amounts of moisture and humidity in the air, because it won't work. You will have problems, and especially when you're performing, because you've got that anxiety, so you're going to be sweating anyways, plus with the humidity factor, you're really going to be wet. So I suggest performing, and after 5 or 10 minutes, if you're doing close-up sets, go wash your hands, dry off, come out, do some more, and do it again. If you're doing stage magic, really think about which tricks you're going to do. If you're going to do a lot of manipulation, it's going to be difficult. Again, you have to really think about what effects you're going to do if you're performing outside and in a high humidity environment. And so this is just my experience about performing in high humidity, but when you're performing outside, you really do have to think about more factors than just the humidity, wind, and things like that. So if you are new to performing, really think about, when you get that show, what is the environment? Are you performing indoors or outdoors? Are you going to perform? And then you got to think about the effects. Is wind going to cause a problem if I perform this? Is a high humidity environment going to cause a problem when I perform? And you really got to break that down and think about it. It's easy to forget, and it's something you do have to think about. And that's all I wanted to talk about today. And my experience was performing with high humidity, but really the environment you're performing, especially if you're going to perform outside, and really think about what effects, think about what could happen with the wind, the humidity, rain. Will things get broken? Will things get wrecked? Is it impossible to do? And if you're using animals, is it going to be dangerous for them in this environment? Because especially like I said here, it's very hot and humid. You don't really want to bring animals to a live event and they're going to be sitting in a cage and it's going to be really hot and humid. It's not going to be healthy for them. So again, really think about this and think about the environment you're performing in, because part of performing and thinking about doing a good show is to be aware and understand the environment you can perform in, such as I talked about in other ones, but here we're talking about things that you can't control, such as the humidity and wind and rain and whatever. Anyways, if you have any comments, please leave them in the comments below. If you have any questions to me about performing magic, please leave them as well. Don't forget to subscribe to keep updated on new episodes coming out, as well as keeping track of other content that I put out on my page, such as my vlogs and my cool news episodes and my weird but fun stuff. That's all for today. Until next time, go out there and inspire others to do great magic, and see you then. Bye-bye.